Welcome to episode 98 of Talking Mopars. Today's episode is a replay of the Monday Night Live show from Facebook. I thought I was going to have to hold the show up all by my lonesome self, but my friend Matt, also known as @SideRoad on Instagram, that's @SIDE_road, RHODE, as in Rhode Island. Be sure to give him a follow @SideRoad. He jumped on the live and we basically did an impromptu Direct Connections episode. It was fun as always, and I look forward to having Matt on the show again sooner rather than later. So remember, once again, give him a follow on Instagram @SIDE_RHODE, @SideRoad on Instagram. Before we get the show on the road, I wanted to remind you of two events in September that I will be covering live and in the flesh. The first one is Muscle Cars at the Strip at Las Vegas Motor Speedway on September 10th and 11th, and Holly's second annual Mo Party, September 17th through the 19th at Beach Bend Raceway Park in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Both events are going to be a blast, and I look forward to meeting some of you and, of course, joining in on all the Mopar festivities. For more information about Muscle Cars at the Strip, you can visit MATSLV.com, and for Holly's Mo Party, you can visit moparty.com. I hope to catch you there and talk Mopars with you in person. You guys know how much I love these live episodes. They are always a good time because I enjoy talking Mopars with my fellow Mopar enthusiasts more than I enjoy talking to myself. So without further ado, if you are a Mopar enthusiast, then you are in the right place. Don't go anywhere. You're tuned into the best Mopar enthusiast-driven podcast on planet Earth, and I am your host, Chris Albrecht, better known as the Mopar Hunter, and this is Talking Mopars Live.
You're listening to Talking Mopars with the Mopar Hunter, your direct connection to all things Mopar.
We've got Side Road in the chat. Hold on a second, Matt. Let me get out of here. Let's do this. We're going to bring Matt, aka Side Road, into the chat here. Matt is a hell of an artist. Matt, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How I sound?
You sound great, man. Welcome.
Good.
It's good to finally talk to you face to face.
I know, it's been a while.
Yeah. So, we're going to do this like I do normal interviews, man. Tell us a little bit about you, what you're about, what you're into, and obviously what kind of Mopar you got.
So, Mopars is life, right?
Yeah.
That's how I grew up.
Yes, sir.
I currently have a 69 Dart Swinger. That was
Nice.
my father's car. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he unfortunately is no longer with us.
Okay.
But that definitely stayed in the family. We weren't letting go of that. So
how long has it been in the family?
We bought that in 2001.
Wow, that's a long time. 20 years.
Yep. Yeah, so that's been a fun project. But like I said, I grew up and Mopars were everything. So
nice.
Started basically with my grandfather. He was all about them. It's actually, I kind of owe my existence to Mopars.
Yeah?
Yeah. My grandfather, when he was kind of, young buck, driving around his 30s Plymouth, bumped into my, what now would have been like my great uncle. So they hit it off. They actually had the same identical Plymouth.
Oh, wow.
And that's how he went over, met his sister, and then ended up they dated.
Yeah.
And that's how everything started.
And the rest is history. That's cool, man. What kind of Mopars were in your family growing up, or was the Dart like the first one your dad brought home? I don't imagine.
No. My grandfather, when I was a kid, he his kind of Mopar muscle story started with a 60. The most famous one, I would say, was a 69 Coronet RT.
Okay.
That he bought.
Yeah.
As, the traditional green, triple green.
Okay. Yes, I love triple green.
the white stripe around the back.
Okay. Yeah.
440, everything.
Awesome.
That actually that got stolen and stripped in '69.
Oh.
Yeah.
Man.
So they pulled the motor. I think my aunt found it or saw it,
God.
like later that week.
Wow.
So he ended up with the insurance money.
Okay.
He ordered a 70 Charger RT
Okay.
SE package.
All right.
B5 blue. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah, that's a middle finger to the people. Okay, you're gonna steal my shit. I'm gonna come back with something even better.
Yeah. So he was big into it. I mean, my dad basically had all Mopars growing up, and the first one I remember as a kid, he had a '69 Formula S convertible.
Oh wow, awesome! Would it have like 340 in it?
That actually at the time had a 318 in it.
Oh okay.
So I mean, it got blown up.
Oh okay.
So when I was a kid, it had a 318 by then. But those are rare cars. The convertibles were it's like one of 83 or something.
Oh yeah. Like I would have been surprised if it was a 340 or God a 383 or something. That would have been insane.
Yeah. I mean, it was supposed to be the 340, but
Yeah, sure.
Back in the 80s, it was like blow it up, throw something else in.
Sure. When you got the Dart back in 01, what kind of shape was it in?
Oh, it was pretty much a fairly new resto. It was like done in the 90s sometime.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean the car's numbers matching.
Oh wow! So you guys didn't have to do much to it, just cruise it around, or what?
We swapped out it had some kind of like bogus, different Mopar interior in it.
Oh, okay.
Wasn't right for the car. We ended up finding like a full black interior for it, which is correct for it.
Yeah.
It was.
A bodies are one of those cars where it's like you always see mismatched interiors in those things.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of funny.
So that was the big the family hot rod was the Dart, but my dad had a '79 Chrysler 300.
Oh, cool.
T-top car.
Yeah.
80 Aspen. What else? I mean, before that, his first car was like a 65 Fury wagon with a 440 in it.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, those Aspens don't get enough love. I like those things. I think they're cool. Those and
my first car, and
really?
I ended up with a '72 Plymouth Scamp.
Oh, cool. Car. Hey, man, I wish I could have started off with a Scamp. Unfortunately, I wasn't that lucky. So tell us how you got into design work. Matt, he's a killer designer. Now, I've always tried to design stuff, but I'm such an amateur at it. Like, it takes me a week or two to make a design. And funny enough, a lot of the designs that I've done started off on my phone with a cool picture that I saw or something. I was like, all right, how can I digitize this? And but some people just have the talent. Matt, tell us how you got into design work.
I honestly I went to school, stayed fairly local, but I went into college basically thinking I was going to be like a, high school teacher.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was like I wanted to, change the world.
Sure.
So, ended up, one of my friends, he's still is awesome graphic designer, just in general. His style is like, he just has it. But he wasn't so much into the car thing, but me, I'm like, well, how can I Photoshop this so it, the wheels I want on this? So that's what kind of started it, to be honest. It was like,
right
I'm gonna change this, change the color, do this, add whatever.
Wow.
And and then I started taking classes, ended up switching my major.
Cool.
Got, like, just fully into the graphic design thing. So
that's awesome, man. Yeah, I saw the work you did for Johnny Mopar, and I thought it was cool. And then you reached out to me and offered me something I couldn't refuse, and I can't wait to see the completed project. That's gonna be a lot of fun, man. I appreciate you doing that, because I'm one of those guys where I'm like, yeah, let's work on something, and then I just get caught up and stuff. And you were smart in getting a little something done, going, hey, this is what I'm working on. Oh, okay. You're a good salesman, Matt. I like it.
I was like, you know what? It definitely was on my mind too. And it was, again, like you said, you have a vision and you're like, yeah, let me do this. And you just keep like pushing it further and further. I mean, especially with everything else going on in the world. It's like,
oh yeah, sure. Yeah, it's crazy. I was actually looking at because it's been a while since I've done a design, and I was looking at the Mr. Norm truck, and I was like, "Gosh, that's going to be a pain." And because I'm not good, you know what I mean? I was like, "That is going to be a pain to do the lettering." And so I was like, I was actually dreading it, so I was putting it on the back burner. So I think I told you that I had this huge plan to release a new shirt every month from a different designer, but I mean, it's like tattoos. You know,
Yep.
good work is not cheap, and cheap work is not necessarily good.
Yeah, I
So
hear
you got to be careful with that kind of stuff. But man, yeah, your designs are awesome. I've been lucky enough in doing this kind of stuff that I've met a lot of cool designers. The guy who I bought the truck from, Murray, he does really badass
I've
renderings.
seen some of his stuff.
Yeah,
He's nasty.
yeah. It's people with that vision, man. Like, it's crazy. I wish I had artistic vision like that. Every once in a while, I'll get an idea or something, and it's tough these days because you put a design on, like, I have some designs on Amazon and things like that, and you get these third world people that come in and just steal your work. It's like, gosh, I can't believe, like, when I first started the Mopar Hunter, I had a couple t-shirt designs that may or may not have crossed the trademark infringing line. Before I really knew anything about the laws involved in that. So I was like, oh God. So once somebody said, hey man, you might want to look into the trademark laws. I was like, yeah, no kidding. I didn't even think about that. So I pulled some stuff down, and if you search on Google a couple keywords relating to what I do, shirts will pop up that are so bad that, God, I hope they don't think I'm involved. You know what I mean? I'm like, who is selling that and who would buy it? You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's got some Warner Brothers stuff on it. It's like not good. So,
there's some stuff out there.
Yeah, I don't know how a lot of those guys get away with it. It's crazy that they're, because I have designs pulled that it's just in the key words that I use. Like, you can't even use the word Mopar or the word Dodge.
No.
So, like, some of my stuff I've been able to, game the system a little bit, not in a malicious way, but it's just crazy what I've seen out there. And I'm like, how are these still up? They got the Mopar logo, no registered trademark on it. I'm like, God.
Some people just don't care. They'll make money until they get in trouble. Then we'll figure it out after.
Yeah, no kidding. So what are your plans with the Dart? Just kind of cruise it around or what?
Well, right now I kind of ran into, some wiring fun. Like,
yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah, what's going on with that?
Honestly, I mean, the wiring harnesses are, not cheap. So.
Oh no.
And I just bought a house, so.
Oh yeah. That's one of those things with Mopars with the wiring. It's like, okay, do you go with the OE stuff because you can get it and it is not cheap, or do you go with, like, every time wiring gets brought up, everybody brings up like Painless, and like I did on my blue truck, I did the quick wire kit, and it's all really, I just don't know how I feel about it. I like original stuff, you know what I mean? But it's a widely debated topic, but some people swear by the original stuff. They're like, oh yeah, if you get, a bunch of shoddy electrical work in there, of course it's going to not work right. You know what I mean? But that's
it's tough with the wiring stuff, because I mean, I know that car, it's 52 years old on the wiring. It's like, it's going to be dry rotted, cracked, and something's off. So but I think I'm going to end up going with the American Auto Wire kit. I mean, it ends up swapping over, I believe, the alternator it's like a GM style,
the HEI or whatever.
It just it swaps it to like one wire instead of going through like every how it charges through the dash and all that. It like kind of bypasses that. That's
in the tin grill world, everybody says, oh, do the one wire setup, because it's, if you're out on the road going to a show or something and you happen to break down, guaranteed any local auto parts store will have what you need. Guaranteed. Yep. I mean, I've been to some parts stores where, you got some younger guys that may not know much about the older stuff. So you ask them about a ballast resistor and they're like, and they give you that weird look, and then they just start typing. It's like, yeah, you better start typing. uh,
Yeah, no, that's one you just keep a spare in the glove box.
Yeah. With tin grill trucks, man, wiring is one of those things because that damn bulkhead connector, man, God, they get so bad.
Yeah.
I found a wiring harness for the Mr. Norm truck after I burned up the wiring in it, and the only thing I don't like about it is that the bulkhead connector is white and the original ones are black, so it sticks out like a sore thumb. But at this point, it's like, all right, well, at least I know it's solid. You know what I mean? It's just a small little detail that I guess I can look past. But ideally, when I get the Hemi in there, I would like to just wire tuck everything. I don't want to see any. I want it to look clean in there. But that's easier said than done because wiring is not my strong suit. I will be the first to admit that.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of just like taking my time getting that started, because I know once I dig into it, it's going to be just a time-consuming project.
It is, man. I made the mistake of going, oh, I can do a little bit at a time. And while I did do a little bit at a time, it would have been so much easier just to set aside 2 full days and just go, okay, I'm going to go out into the garage. Don't bother me, wife. And I'm just going to work on this wiring, because I kept doing 2 hours here, 3 hours there, half hour here. And it just got to the point where I was like, how long is this? It was sitting in the garage for far too long. And then I did the podcast, and I just got in over my head with my projects. And that's why I had to hawk everything and just start fresh, which I really didn't want to do. But in hindsight, looking back, I'm like, well, it was worth it because I got the truck that I've been after for so long. It made it worth it for me.
You landed where I think you need to be.
Yeah, it's tough for me because I'm not one of those people that's built not bought. You know what I mean? You get that argument a lot, and I totally understand. I mean, I've bought half-done projects before, and it's never a good sign. And then there's the whole stigma of, oh, well, you didn't build it, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry that I fell in love with the Mr. Norm truck. I couldn't have dreamt up a design that hit it so well. So I don't feel bad at all. And I have no problems telling people when they ask me who did the lettering. I tell them everything. Like, hey, It wasn't me. I'll tell you that. Thankfully, I know enough about the truck where it's not like, oh, I just bought it and I know nothing about it. Thankfully, I'm friends with the guy who built it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
no, I mean, I remember when you first posted that, and I love that thing.
Yeah, there's just
when you
something about it.
Said that you ended up with it, I was like, yep, that makes perfect sense.
It gosh, I'm glad I did. The guy who sold me my van had I forget the year, it was either 77 or 78 adventurer truck, and it had it was in good shape, and he was going to sell that to me. And I saw a picture of the van, or I saw one of the pictures. I saw the fender of the van, and I was like, what's up with the van? And I was trying to work out like a package deal. And right before I pulled the trigger and said, all right, let's make this happen, I remembered, I was like, man, I always said if I had the money, I would try to buy that truck again once and for all. I'm going to give it one last go. And I had to track down the owner. I'm sure you've heard the story. I've talked about it many times. Yeah. But God, I paid for that. You know, when he had me by the balls, but I have zero regrets, because that truck, just every time I drive it, even when it was about to burn down to the ground, I was pleading with it, please God, don't burn down to the ground. Yeah. No, please, God.
I know the feeling.
I was ready to pop the hood and pee on it if it came down to it. I was like, I will do whatever it takes to put this fire out.
Yeah, no, that was me. When I all I did was on my lunch break from work, I was like, you know what? I was working from home that day. I was like, I'm just gonna go to the gas station quick, gas it up, fresh gas, go for a ride later. As I'm out, the car's kind of like, you know, you're driving the car and it doesn't seem like it has, like, it's not idling the same. You're just kind of like something.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I got back to my house. As soon as I put it in reverse, the car just died right in the middle of the road.
Oh God.
I was like, what the hell? So I kind of like let it coast into, I actually, you know, we were cool with the neighbors. So I let it like coast into their driveway. I was like, oh, you know, maybe the alternator is just not charging or whatever. Let me just like grab my other car, jump it, luckily I was there, you know.
Yeah, no kidding.
So pop the hood, start hooking up the cables. Before I could even get the cables on the car, I just happened to glance up, and all I saw was white smoke just billowing out of the speaker hole in the
Oh
dash.
God.
And I was like, oh God, oh God. I ripped the battery cables off with my bare hands, just as fast as I could. I just ripped them right off.
Yeah. Yeah.
I kid you not, if I waited any longer than what happened, like the time that passed, I would have been just probably crying at that
Oh
moment.
yeah. Oh sure.
Scary.
Yeah. Anytime I went and bought a fire, and I got a fire extinguisher in that truck now. But wiring, especially with the old stuff, it's like, especially if it has ever been tampered with. You know what I mean? Has yours been tampered with at all, or is it all factory original?
It's pretty factory. Like I said,
Okay.
it seems like it was just
Old.
just old and dry
Sure.
rotted.
Yeah, I would advise anybody out there with an old Mopar, whether or not it's original wiring or somebody's been messing with it and it's a rat's nest, check it. If it has been messed with, for the love of God, go through the wiring and make sure that everything is done right. Good crimps, some of the wiring on some of these old Mopars, you look at it like, geez, like I've seen some that are like, 20-year-old restorations or whatever, and they look good. The cars look good, and then it has an under hood shot, and you're looking at it like, oh man, what is going on here? They didn't even bother to take that garbage plastic loom and just make it look pretty. They just, some of that wiring I've seen, I'm like, and I'm judging, and I couldn't do much better job. I gotta go wire by wire with my stuff, or else it'll be just as bad.
Yeah, but when you're done, it's fine.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Some people just like throw it together, throw some wire nuts on it, and they don't care.
Yeah,
don't do that.
I have to know. I need the peace of mind. You know what I mean? Because I don't like driving old stuff and being worried about it all the time. And for a while there, the Mr. Norm truck, I was pretty confident because the wiring was pretty close to original. There was a couple little things, but anything that looked sketchy, I replaced. So I was like, all right. And I felt pretty confident when it was running and nothing was getting too hot or anything crazy. And I had the gauge cluster restored. I really had no worries. And then on the way home that night, smelling, I was like, oh no. And I really do think it was either the voltage regulator that went out or the alternator decided to start backfeeding or something. I'm not quite sure, but I replaced both of them. So far, everything's good. Knock on wood. Nothing bad happens. But wiring, man. Whew. I would rather deal with any other part of the car than a wiring issue, especially if it's something that's, hard to track down. But with the old Mopars, it's all relatively easy. If you're having a certain problem, it's like, okay, well, you can pretty much track it down for the most part. But then I jumped on some of the forums and read some of the electrical issues that people have. And I'm just like, God, that would be a nightmare. Because some of the electrical gremlins are just so weird. It's like, that's weird.
Yeah. I want to say the hardest part probably about the wiring is that's a factory AC car.
Oh.
So they don't make the AC section of it.
You still have all the terminals and stuff, like the little plastic connectors.
Yeah, everything's there. Just
so you'll be able to. Well, if you're gonna auto wire it, you should be okay. But if you're going OE, you just have to, try to find some wiring that looks somewhat original. Yeah. But unless you're going for a concourse restoration, I advise anybody to. The only reason why I didn't rewire the whole truck right now is I just needed to get it back up and going. And I thought to myself that the easiest way to do it is just to do plug and play. Yep. And that's pretty much what it was. So that'll work until I put the Hemi in it and figure out what I want to do for a wiring harness. Because the aftermarket harnesses, some of them are really, really made for people like me. They give you a color-coded diagram. Everything's got the label on it. So it's like, it's idiot proof. And I know that because when I rewired my old truck and I sold it before it was done, all I had was the engine wired. And the guy who bought it, I asked him because I was worried about it. I was like, he's probably going to go through that and be like, what the hell did this guy do? Because I've never rewired a car. And he told me I only had one bad crimp. And I was like, okay. Because I crimped a lot of it because I didn't want to solder everything because I was afraid that if I screwed it up, I would have wasted time soldering. So I figured if I got it running, then I knew I could go wire by wire and solder each one. But I didn't have to, I guess. So, but now that truck's for sale. So I sell the Dart, that ends up for sale. And then I sell my blue truck. The guy who got it from me did the interior, fixed the bad stuff on the suspension, and now it's up for sale again. And I was like, ugh, because I would have loved to buy it back because he did everything that I pretty much wanted to do to it. And now it's in decent condition, ready to go. And I'm like, oh man, unfortunately, I'm a little knee deep in Mopar stuff right now. But that's the way the game. That's the way the game goes.
Trying to get a new daily.
Yeah.
Everything's so nuts right now. Like I don't even know where I want to start. I'm seriously like just looking at like, 99 Dakotas.
Sure. Yeah.
I'd love an RT. But.
Oh man. That's one of the Mopar trucks that I would love to have. A cool little 360 RT. That would be fun.
Yep.
There's something, I don't know, man. I love those little trucks. They're so hard to find and they're expensive, man. God, you can find them with 150,000+ miles on it around here. Anyway, they still go for $5,000+. And some of them are just ratty shit boxes. It's like, geez.
Seriously. No, I mean, everything around here for like, I would say average price for like something that's like got maybe 140,000 miles is like $6,000.
God, and you're over there, Rhode Island. So I'm sure the rust issues are pretty gnarly over there, huh?
Yeah. I mean, you can tell what cars and trucks were garaged and.
Oh yeah. How's the rust on the Dart? Is it pretty good? You said it was an older restoration.
Yeah, I mean, it has probably. I mean, the quarters are starting to bubble now.
Okay.
And back then it wasn't that you couldn't buy a full quarter, and
sure.
Basically, just laid it over and made it look as best as you could.
Sure.
The rest of those back then weren't, what they are now.
Yeah.
But yeah, between that, I think there's a spot like on the floor that probably should get addressed. But everything else is pretty solid. I mean, the car's there. So
that's good. Yeah, I'm assuming you garage it or no?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, those East Coast cars, man. I've seen some projects for sale over there. I'm like, whoa, like they are gnarly over there.
Yeah, and they still go for the money though.
Yeah, they do. I keep hearing from certain people. I'm sure they're going to be listening to this, or like, oh, I can't believe people would pay $20,000 for a ratty Charger that needs everything, and they're telling me they're getting running and driving decent driver quality Chargers for like $15,000. I'm like, show me one. Trust me, when I had a pocket full of cash earlier this year, I was looking and I could not find one. It's one of those, you need to know somebody who knows somebody or something, and I don't know those people.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's either. Yeah. And all the people that do like keep those cards close to the chest, you know what I mean? They're like, I'll go ahead and pick that up from you when I have the money. I'm not going to tell anybody about it. Let's did you see that van that I was just looking at before you jumped on?
Oh, the blue one?
Yeah, that's it's clean, but gosh, 12,000 for a van. That's, I guess we're getting into that we're getting into that territory with the vans now that they're getting more popular. It's insane. Yeah.
Well, that's crazy. I mean, all the like 80s, late 70s Rams, like Ram Chargers, whatever, it's all going for like 20 if it's clean around here. Between 15 and 20.
Those for another little era that is getting insane are those first generation diesels. Those things are unbelievable. You can't find a clean one around here in the Northwest for less than 20,000. It is insane. I'm like, that is crazy. Some of them are really clean, have low mileage and stuff, not even broken in yet, 100,000 miles. It's like, geez. But the amount of money that they're going for, there's people out there that are just scouring the classifieds in like Iowa and Nebraska, just waiting for that old farm truck that's still really clean to pop up for sale. They'll go buy it and then flip it. Yeah, things are getting crazy. I didn't think I would see vans get as expensive as some of the ones I've been seeing. I know that there's guys that have kept their vans forever, so they're pulling them out of the garage going, oh, they're trying to capitalize. I've seen some go for like 20, 30 grand. It's like, whoa.
Wow.
Sich not that popular yet.
We'll see. Send you, a friend of a friend kind of has it's like a green Plymouth van.
Oh, really?
It's like I want to say it's like a 77.
Cool.
Yeah, that's nuts.
And that would be the
hood scoop and everything. Like,
oh, yeah.
I'll have to send you a photo.
Yeah, the Plymouth Voyager vans, they're rare. I like seeing them. I saw a grill on eBay. Gosh, how long ago was that? It was a while ago, but it was like pretty much NOS condition, and that thing was going for over $1,000. I was like, oh my god, it's insane. What do you think about the vans coming back? Do you think that it's just like a flash in the pan or what?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like lately everybody just wants to go back to like off the grid. Some of us do anyway. So
sure.
Honestly, I think it's going to be a wave, and then I think it'll kind of level out again. But I think for now, people are into it. It's different. It's, the people who haven't seen those things are actually like discovering them. So I feel like that's part of it. And then you get the other guys like probably around our age that are just like, I remember seeing those when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'll pick that one up that's been sitting
sure,
a few miles away. But I don't know. I feel like that's going to be a wave.
I think so too. We'll see. I hope that part of me is like, I really hope it comes back, but then I'm like, well, then everything's going to go up in price, and it's kind of like you outweigh, do you want them to go up in price but have more parts availability because maybe some of these companies are go, oh, vans are back, let's start reproducing some of the stuff that we had in the 70s. For somebody like me that's trying to build a van, that would be great, because some of these parts that I'm finding that are like unused, like you go on eBay and look at some of these porthole bubble windows, insane. The prices are absolutely insane.
Yeah.
But
it's almost, even like going back to the grills, some guy in my town listed one for 70, 77, 78. Like Ram,
yeah,
D100, D150, whatever. He it was clean, like no dents, dings. I was like, oh my god, I gotta hop on this. It was $50.
Oh my god, yeah,
it was like,
that's a deal.
By the time I messaged the guy, it was gone. I'm like, yeah, I saw that coming.
Oh yeah, OfferUp was like my little honey hole for a minute. I was finding deals on stuff on OfferUp. I was like, wow, like Edelbrock intakes for $50, and the ones I've been seeing around here are still like $150, $200. I'm like, it's used. Like, God. I got an Edelbrock intake for $50, and I've seen some grills, some tin grills. It's crazy. Center consoles for A bodies. I didn't realize how crazy those are getting in price. Because I remember I saw one ad. I believe it was a Craigslist ad. Really crappy pictures too. So you either get lucky with an ad with crappy pictures, or you get really unlucky. So this guy posts a picture, and he's got 2 A-body center consoles just posted up against either a car or a wall in his garage. But it was like center consoles, A-body, $60. I was like, so immediately I got a hold of him. I was like, I'll come get him right now. And he's like, okay. So I drove down to Seattle, got him. I remember on my way home, I was just like, I cannot believe I just bought these for $60. And then I sell them for like 150 or 200 because I was gonna try to make one good one out of the 2, and I ended up not getting around to them and selling them for $150 a piece. And the people that bought them were like, "This is a great deal," and I'm like, "Yeah, sure." I was expecting people to haggle with me, and then I'm hearing these stories like Matt from Big Blocks Garage
that guy just bought a center console and he told me how much he paid for it. And I was like, man, I was practically giving them away, even though I got them for cheap. Like, yeah, it's insane. So now every time I see a cheap A body console, I'm going to start buying them back. I'm going to start getting them. See if I can make a little bit of cash to fund my projects.
Even going back to like some of the Aspen stuff, like you saying, those don't get enough love. It's like, yeah, because I mean, there's no aftermarket parts. So I'm looking, and it's like, especially the 80, which is like, it's literally 1 year.
Yeah,
it's you can't find anything. I was just looking. I stumbled on one thing because you start reminiscing about when you were a kid and you look up at that car that you ever.
Sure.
I saw a grill. The new old stock grill. I mean, new old stock is nuts anyway, but
yeah,
the fact that it was for that car, it was some astronomical price. And I'm like, no one's going to pay that unless they have, a low miles one. And it's like, just got like the grill busted out of it.
Yeah.
And, they're just saving it for like, even 20 more years until it's like, they're trying to sell that for, six figures when it's even more astronomical. But yeah. Some parts in general, it's like just finding. It's almost like I look back at when I was a kid, just picking, whatever for the dart back in the day. I'm like, if I went back and just snagged like a couple more things and just kept that for a rainy day and just held on to it for like 10 years, 20 years, I would, it's always hindsight's 2020, but
sure,
it's like you could sell it for like $500 for a part that you can get for like $10.
Well, that there's those, you see every once in a while pictures online or like magazine articles where there's that one hoarder who's been hoarding Hemi parts and 6-pack parts for years. And everybody thought he was the crazy old man. He's got a barn full of those parts. And now he's just like, these old things are, to him, he bought them for so cheap that, obviously they know the market now, but they're sitting on little miniature gold mines. It's insane.
I'm sure you're going to hear somebody that like hoarded, like, the Shelby, like 2.2s. They got like a garage full of them at home that like somebody's holding on to. Or it's like, my grandfather bought this car. He used to work at a dealership. That's gonna be the new story. Is like the 80s into the 90s. And then, just oddball stuff. And then it's gonna be like, all right, well, he just had a bunch of extra parts in case he ever needed it. had this car. It's like, oh yeah, he had a GLHS.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he bought it as a commuter back in the 80s. It's just been sitting in the garage ever since.
Yeah, his friend was too big for it, so he gave it. Like, it's going to be something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of looking forward to those cars taking off a little bit, too.
Yeah, my dad, I'll never forget that Daytona. So now every time I see one, I'm like, God, there's something about, I know they get a lot of hate, especially from the like classic Mopar community, like the muscle car guys. I don't give a rat's ass. I love those things. That's something that will never die in me. I love those cars.
Yeah, my uncle's got a 87 Shelby.
Nice.
So he bought that brand new. He's the original owner.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So he's kind of he's one of those that like started parts gathering a little early.
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of saw it coming just based on everything.
Smart guy.
Went through and everything else. So my dad came from like a big family. So
okay.
Like all of his brothers had all cars too. I mean, like, he was a twin, so his twin brother had I think when they were growing up had like, first of all, that street was probably like a car show back in the day, but and they were all about it. But he had like 300s, like 1970.
Oh God.
69 for convertible cars. They had a lot of C-body stuff too. But I mean, it was like, I think my dad had like all Chrysler Newports with like 440s in them.
Yeah.
Like, all right. Well, yeah. I mean, I basically learned how to drive on the Aspen.
That's awesome.
That car ended up getting wrecked.
Ah,
Then and that was clean too. That car was just, it was one like he had Kragers with the BFGs on it.
okay, yeah,
So it was like that brown color with
Cool.
a tan interior 4-door.
nice.
So and on those, like, for whatever reason, like the Sands look just as cool.
Yeah,
It's like weird, but yeah, that was a sweet ride. I mean, too bad that got wrecked, but I ended up driving his 300
oh yeah,
79, like
That's
all over
awesome.
the place, because he had just gotten the Dart too,
oh that's
like
cool.
around that time. So he was like all about the Dart. So I'm like, well, I can take the 300 out, and then, like, I think I took that to like junior prom.
That's
it's
cool.
like, yeah.
Yeah, that locally, God, when was it? A year or two ago, I saw an ad for an Aspen RT, and it was, I mean, from where I am right now, it's probably 10, maybe 15 minutes away from my house. It was buried in blackberry bushes for years, and they uncovered it because they were cleaning out the property. $400 for this thing, and it was ratty and it had some rust issues. But I looked at it, I was like, $400, I'm gonna get that thing running, and I'm gonna drive the hell out of it. As long as it wasn't a Flintstone mobile, which was buried in blackberries in the Pacific Northwest. So I'm sure there was more rust issues that you couldn't see, but it was complete. Everything was there. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And I've driven by it so many times, didn't even think that there was a car buried in those blackberries, and there was an Aspen RT buried. And another one of my regrets is I waited until payday to reach out to the guy. I should have just reached it, because it's like $400, dude. Come on, be a cheap ass. I've lost out on so many deals because I'm such a cheap ass. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's one I'm gonna be sour about that one for a while.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I regret selling the Scamp every day. Like, that's one of those cars. I mean, when I got it, it was like, I think it had like 78,000 miles on it.
God.
And then, yeah. So I that car is local too. I think I know where it is, but like, it just hasn't.
Oh, really?
I think somebody VH swapped it and
Okay.
just been tinkering with it, so it hasn't been like out.
Mm.
But I've heard that it's like still local. So I'd like to track that down one day.
God, I wish some of the cars that my dad has had in the past were local. I thought I saw his Daytona one time at a gas station, kind of, again, close to my house. I saw an old couple was in this black Dodge Daytona, and it had the headlight covers like my dad had. It had the louvers. I swear to God, it was my dad's old car. And I was like, oh, I got to chase them down. They took off, and I couldn't keep up with them. And figures, right? The old man has a lead foot. But I'm pretty sure that was my dad's car, because I've never seen another one like it, because it was black with the red pinstripe and just the little dealer accessories that it had. I was like, that had to have been it. I regret to this day not just breaking the law and blowing through every light just to catch up to the guy. But I tried to hunt down my dad's van. No luck. I reached out to every single van guy basically on the entire West Coast. I'm pretty sure that van got parted out or crushed.
Yeah. I mean, that's what happened all through that.
Oh yeah, I keep hearing story like some of the comments I see on some of my Facebook videos are like, man, I was crushing all sorts of and they talk about crushing all the Mopars and stuff, and it's like, yeah, of course you were, because you didn't know what they were going to be. I mean, you can't really blame the people back then. It sucks now looking back, but it's like, gosh, it's
at least you weren't that guy that crushed his own Charger because he was just stubborn. At least you're not that guy.
Episode 1. God. Yeah, that was a rough one.
Like, what are you thinking, dude? Like,
yeah,
just wait. Just wait a few more years, if you're really not gonna let it go. But
yeah,
that hurt too, because 70 Chargers are like close to me because of my grandfather.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, that thing was beautiful. When he passed away in the late 90s, again, that was kind of like before everything like really blew up.
Sure.
So I ended up selling the car. Guess how many miles that car had on? when
Gosh.
when it was sold.
60,000.
Less.
Really? 40,000.
Less.
30,000.
It had like 34,000 miles on it.
Oh my God.
All original paint.
Oh my God.
It
Was
had
it pretty
a-
solid, even though it was
Oh,
an East Coast car?
Thing was mint. He
God.
garaged it from like, as soon as he could.
Wow.
And that was so it had the SE package, RT car, B5 blue, black vinyl top,
Nice.
black interior.
Nice.
Had the stripe on the side, like the pinstripe
Okay.
one,
Yeah.
with a luggage rack.
Really? See, sometimes luggage racks get hate, but that's just the time period. I kind of like them. I kind of have a thing for them.
If you saw the car, you'd be like, all right,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
But that car was beautiful. And so when that was sold, that was actually, I want to say I think it was like early 2000s. That car was in like the Survivor tent at Carlisle.
Oh God. Yeah, I mean that low mileage and that special of a car. Yeah, those are the types of cars. Like you see a lot. Like you can find a slant six scamp with low mileage. Every once in a while they'll come across Craigslist or whatever for under 10 grand. It's like, whoa, that's crazy. It's hard to find those crazy cars for that cheap. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's one car. If I hit the lottery, that's gonna be my car.
Yeah, I dream about finding a low mileage, sought after Mopar, but nowadays it's too hard to get them for cheap.
Oh yeah, never happened now. But yeah, like you said, it's got to be somebody that's like, a friend of a friend knows somebody's aunt who's,
Yeah.
oh, I have this old car in the back somewhere, and then it's like, oh, I mean, by now it's like, all right, kind of what you have, I'm sure, but here's to hoping.
Sometimes when I see like signs for estate sales or stuff like that, I'm like, there's got to be some people that have gotten lucky, like, let's go check out this estate sale. And then in the garage is a car, and they're like, are you selling the car? And they're like, yeah, we thought about it, but they get something crazy. Like,
Yep.
those stories exist.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'll have to shoot you over a picture of the Charger.
Yeah.
Thing.
Do it. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I think the funniest part is like just how particular my grandfather was with that. And like what he ordered and whatnot. But he I want to say that like he ordered the car, picked it up, I think like a week or maybe a month later, he's driving, saw a Hemi Charger, made the dealer switch the wheels to the rallies because he had the 14-inch road wheels on it.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
Wow.
He was basically like, "Oh, I want those," and the guy's like looking at him like he's crazy. He's like, "Nobody's gonna buy a 70 like Hemi Charger with 14s on it." So he's like, "Well, no, that's what I want." So and back then that was like the customer's always right back then. So he ended up getting his way. Got the 15-inch rallies on there with the polyglass.
Crazy, dude.
Yep.
That's insane. Yeah, I love hearing stories like that. With the exception of it got sold. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what do you know how much he let it go for?
I actually don't.
Okay.
No.
It'd probably hurt to know, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't even want to know. at this point.
Yeah. God.
Yeah, but I would imagine because it was, like I said, it was before the real like boom of like
Sure.
every auction ever. But
Yeah.
now it would probably be like, you probably just about a 6-figure car for that with the low mileage special. It's probably honestly with the package and how you ordered it. It's probably a one of one.
God.
Yeah, I wouldn't even doubt it. And he said, I guess he told my dad like years later. He's like, I didn't realize at the time that they had switched to the hydraulic lifters in the Hemi because he would have ordered a Hemi.
Oh man, that would have been insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the original owner. It probably still had the build sheet. It probably had everything. He probably had the original invoice and stuff probably in the glove box.
Yeah, I want to say
Gosh.
one that was like not original on the car was it might have been the transmission because of it was like, hey, yeah, we got another one back there. We'll just swap it out.
Sure.
So I think that was the one thing on the whole car where it's like, all right, the casing for the transmission isn't the right year. So, but everything else.
Yeah, that's crazy. I wish my dad. I kind of wish my dad had something a lot crazier to talk about. Like, oh yeah, he had a Superbird or something like that. But nothing that cool. But that's why I love hearing those stories. But they always only few of them have the good endings where it's like, oh yeah, it's still in the garage. It's like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. I remember him telling me about just cars for sale back in the day, and it's like one of them was ended up in like a back page story of I don't know if it was in Mopar Collector's Guide or something, or Mopar Muscle. It might have been I think it was Collector's Guide, but I'm not sure. But it was like just a brief little, this was sold for this price, like crazy deal. It was in my dad's hometown, and it was a Superbird that just sat off to the side. And my dad went by and asked this guy, like, literally, hey, I have cash, I'll buy it, how much do you want for it? Kept asking the guy. One day he went by and the car was gone.
Oh no.
And he's like, are you serious? He ended up seeing the guy. The guy was like, oh yeah, we ended up selling it. He's like, how much did you sell it for? He's like, oh, like we sold it for like $2,200.
Good God.
And he's like, I literally was like ready to go to the bank and get the money in front of you.
Oh God.
And you wouldn't have sold it. And he was like, the guy was kind of a jerk about it, but
oh sure.
And it was just funny because the car ended up just being like a little mention in one of the like magazines years later. And it was just like, really, that was the car, and that guy ended up with it.
Wow. That's insane. I wish I had I thought I was gonna have a story like that with the little red Daytona that was in town. I was like, oh, this guy, he was an older black gentleman. And my little joke, and if you're uncomfortable with racial jokes, this is where you go ahead and sign out. But I thought, I know it's nothing but a bunch of old white guys trying to buy this car. Maybe if I go in there and I'm a little brown, I go in there, maybe I got a leg up on them. You know what I mean? But no such luck. No such luck for me. But yeah, that car's legendary locally. I'm trying to figure out what happened to it because I know the guy, he moved. But I've heard rumors that it's sitting in an apartment complex now, but I'm a garbage man. And I am pretty sure if any of my coworkers saw that car sitting in an apartment complex, they'd probably be like, hey, Chris, there's this Charger, one of those ugly ones with the big wing. Yeah. But haven't heard anything about it since it got moved. That was a shock because it was like one of those crazy cars you could always count on seeing. There's the Daytona. He finally, for a long time, the blue tarp that he had on it was basically just shreds. And then eventually, it was. I mean, it was so you could see the Daytona on the side. It's just like, people knew what it was, and he eventually got a new tarp for it and really wrapped it up good. I have pictures of it on my Instagram. It's wrapped pretty decent. But yeah, gosh, I wish I knew where that car went.
Yeah, I mean, he told me he almost bought like a AAR Cuda.
Oh, really?
Again, it was like $2,500.
God.
He went back, car was gone. It was like he was always just like one step behind the guy that like literally just carried probably $3,000 on him. Just for that reason.
God, yeah. If I ever have in today's market, you got to have at least $20,000 in your pocket. It seems like I've told the story recently when I had that money, I went over to that 70 A66 Challenger I had 12 grand with the ability to go grab another 5, and I was ready to go. And he told me 30 grand, and my heart sank. I was like, here I am thinking that I could drop $17,000 in this guy's lap and take this car off his hands. And he hit me with 30 grand, and he was high on that price. But I was like, yeah, I guess I don't blame you, because he's looking at me probably like, hey, if you got 16 or if you got 17, you got 20. And if you got 20, you could probably get 30 if you really tried. So, but that car's been there for so long. It's someday he'll let it go. But you never know. Probably not to me. Probably somebody else that goes there with 25 and says, I got 25 right now. That's just one of those situations. I can't believe some of the stories that I've been hearing about some of these epic barn finds that are still happening. People are still finding these hordes of cars, and the owners, man, they're getting up there in age, and eventually they're going to have to make some decisions. You know what I mean? Are you going to sell them while you're still alive? Or are you going to, do an estate sale after you're gone? Your family's going to have to deal with that stuff. You might want to just sell them now, because, some of the families, I can't imagine all of them know enough about the cars to make sure they don't get burned. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see what happens with those, because I know they're still out there. There's got to be giant hordes that are just sitting there waiting to be discovered. And hopefully by the time they get out there, I will have a pocket full of cash. But let's I appreciate you coming on, Matt. I wasn't really sure who was going to join me tonight, but it never fails. Somebody always comes through, and today it was Side Road.
There we go. That's all I've been trying to get on for a bit.
Yeah, it's late where you're at, right?
Yeah, it's 12:15 almost.
That's dedication, folks. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
it's been a good time. Let me run through the chat here. We've gone over an hour. I was actually only planning for a half an hour. I didn't think anybody was going to join me, to be honest. But it all worked out in the end. I'm glad it wasn't a widespread technical thing, because I always get worried about that. I always get a little scared, like, gosh, one day this thing's going to come crashing down. Roy picked up some trophies with his Duster and Roadrunner this last Saturday. 178 cars worth of show, and he got into the top 50. Awesome. Put some more trophies in the garage. Cameron, I work with this. He's a garbage guy. He sends me, he's one of the guys who's like, hey, I know where this Mopar is. I know where this one is. He's pretty reliable for that, because he knows cars. So a lot of the guys at work will be like, oh yeah, there's this old car. It's like, okay, well, what is it? You know what I mean? And then you get the guys that know a little bit about cars. And sometimes they get the years wrong. Like I had a buddy who's like, I think it's a 69 Charger over by this elementary school. And I was like, where? So he tells me it's like a 72. And I was like, oh God, still a cool car. It's got a giant 6-pack hood scoop on it. I was like, still a cool car. And the guy just happened to be outside. And I was like, hey, is it for sale? He's like, nope. But I'll be going back to make a video to get some outrage from all the people that don't know who I am. And they think I'm just trespassing on people's property. Cameron says, cool, just don't let the black light do the talking. That's about that van. Paul, black light. There's always, every time you bring up a van, there's always black light jokes. Roy says, seen a decent step-side truck today at the Sandblaster. He said, customer, just give it to him. I didn't ask if he would sell it. Wood bed was gone. Floor was rough, but body was nice, and it was a 4x4 with a 318. Yeah. A lot of the short bed two-wheel drive trucks are starting to get up there in price, so people are starting to go towards the 4x4s, which is cool. I want a 4x4 tin grill someday. That would be awesome. Cameron again, he says, my girlfriend and I are going to recreate my dad's first Mopar 1970 Super B V-Code TX9 with striped elite. Awesome. Poverty caps with red lines, except I want a 4-speed over the 727. Still keep it a super track pack recreation I can drive. Well, Cameron, I believe you.
Nice.
That was weird. I'm back. I don't know what I touched, but I panicked there for a second. I was like, oh no. Matt, it's your show now.
I did one of those. I was like, Oh, where'd it go?
Uh, yeah, I accidentally clicked leave studio. I don't know how the hell I did that. Um, yeah, Cameron, he's one of those guys where I know I can talk to him about Mopar stuff, and he knows. Sometimes you talk to the guys and they kind of they fake like they know about Mopars. It's like, oh, he doesn't know anything about Mopars, which you have to find a Mopar enthusiast to have a conversation about Mopars with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or somebody that at least knows enough about cars where they know basic knowledge.
Yeah, no, I mean, when I was a kid, my dad basically used to, we had like all the old like Mopar like books where
Oh
it's
yeah.
like, just showed you each year and like what the models were and what the dealers were doing. It was all those books, and he used to just, I was probably like 4 or 5 years old, and he's like quizzing me like, how do you tell the difference between a 68 and a 69 like Coronet?
Oh yeah.
He's like quizzing me. He's like, I'm like, oh yeah, the circle,
Yeah.
side lights and this and just going off. And he that's basically how I learned. He was just, we'd be, watching TV. I'm flipping through a book. He's like, oh yeah, I had
Good job, Dad.
Yeah,
Good job.
solid parenting.
I'll remember that for when my daughter hopefully she gets interested in this stuff, because I would love for her to school some dudes. That would be funny. Cameron again says, need help when you're ready with the wiring. I'm very good at it. Cool, man. I will definitely, he offered to help me on the blue truck, but it was just one of those things where, like I said, it was a little bit at a time and I never got a solid day of actually work. I guess I got a couple, but nothing too crazy. Raymond says, hell, I'm looking forward to wiring after all the metal work I've been doing. Yeah, he's got the old bad habit, a Dart, and he's been doing some serious metal work on that thing. That's been a long-term project. So it's interesting that he's gonna get through all the wire or all the metal work, and then he's got to do all the wiring. That I don't envy that at all. Rust does suck. Unicorns. I need to keep up. I'm horrible about keeping up in the chat, but we get caught in a conversation.
Yep, keep close to the job, definitely.
Agreed. No one wants to give away the good deals. Yep, keep them close to their chest so they can buy them. Yeah, man. There's definitely guys out there that know where all the you always can tell too, and some of them are my friends. They'll take pictures of these cars and you just see the comments blow up. Where is it? Where is it? And like, I want to ask where it is, but it's like, I don't have the money to buy it. So what the hell would I be asking for? But he's like, you're seeing all these people. It's like, are you going to buy it, dude? You really going to buy it?
Yeah.
So everybody wants it. Like, and I get a lot of criticism for that, because what people don't understand is when I do these videos, I know that some of the things that I say are going to get tore to pieces. But now I'm just embracing it, because I'm like, I'm going to filter myself to appease you, because they get mad at me like, oh, go buy it if you think you blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this is for entertainment, folks. If I really, it's like the same people that think that I owned all the cars that I was posting on the Mopar Hunter page.
Oh, geez.
I'm like, man, if those were all mine, like, God, crazy stuff. Cameron's answering my question about vans. Personally, to answer the question about the vans, muscle cars, then the custom van scene of the 70s. So who knows? I'd love to see them come back. Remember my dad's 76 Chevy van, all done up, 400 with side pipes. Cool, man. Yeah, it's definitely a crazy niche in cars. You got some guys in the vans that have been doing it since the 70s. And so now they're getting pissed off because they're like, oh, all these punks, they don't know anything about vans. It's a crazy scene out there with the way the vans are going. Because you got all these people, like we were talking about earlier, all these people that like live out of their vans, and they get paid on YouTube and Instagram and stuff. The van life. It's crazy. Cameron, again, exactly, unless you can't get to it and want it to be saved before it's too late. Yeah, man, a lot of these cars that sit out there, I look at some of them and I understand where people come off where they say, oh, it's their car. They can do whatever they want. I get that. That's it's, my view on it is always, yeah, but are they going to get to it before it gets so far gone that they eventually just sell it anyway? You might as well sell it while it's still reasonably solid. Dreamers, man. Like, I get it. That's why I let go of the Dart and my blue truck, because I was like, look, I had the vision of them, but it was so far out that I was like, man, they're just taking up room. You know what I mean? I couldn't imagine having something in my yard like that. But I guess that's the difference. Somebody made a good point, and they're like, if you had a crazy car, let's say a 70 Challenger RT, you've had it since high school, and obviously, life goes on and you've kept the car, but it's starting to slowly rot into the ground. But everybody asks you about that car. Not a week goes by, not a month goes by, not a year goes by where somebody doesn't stop and want to at least talk to you about the car. And that is your only claim to even a little bit of fame in your entire life. Everything else in your life sucks except for that car. That car's brought you nothing but joy, and people always telling you how cool it is and how they wish they had one. So that's your prized possession, but you don't have the money to take it back to, where it should be. That is a sad story to me. I'm like, yeah, that would suck. You know what I mean? Like, you're in a single wide trailer, and this is no offense to anybody that, lives in a trailer or anything like that. But like, you're out in the sticks, and you got that car, you've got no mortgage, you got a bunch of land, and you got the car just rotting into the ground. And that's the thing that gets people. Maybe you're a hermit, and that's the only time you talk to people is when they ask you about the car. You know what I mean? So I get that part of it. I just wish that people would be a little bit more realistic. And like I said on Instagram, there's so many kids, man. If I could go back in time to when I was a teenager and I could have gotten one of the cars that I was looking at for a little bit cheaper, oh man, that would have helped me out a lot. And I probably would have, if I would have gotten a Mopar when I was 16, 15, 17, I definitely would have kept it, because I was so obsessed that I probably would have, I'd probably still have it. It probably would have driven me to have more, because I've noticed that once you get into that world, then the networking starts, because then people are like, oh yeah, I have one of those cars in my garage or in my shed, when you're at the gas station or something.
Yep.
That's how those conversations get started. I know a guy who wore a Mopar shirt to the grocery store, and a guy goes, oh, you're a Mopar guy, huh? And he's like, huh? Yeah. And he's like, I got a couple of those. So he starts asking him what he's got, and he doesn't have anything crazy special. He's got a couple trucks or whatever, and like a 69 Satellite. It's like, cool, Yeah. And you would have never known about it unless somebody said something. So that's why I try to wear my shirts and stuff around, put stickers on my cars, just in case that one guy's like, yeah, I got one of those wing cars. Like, oh, really, sir?
Well,
We're friends now.
You're about to have more stickers, though.
Yeah. Yes. I can't wait, man. That's going to be good. Ian, great content as always. Thanks you. Thanks, buddy. Looking forward to hopefully joining the chat someday. Yeah, man. This show will always be an open forum for my fellow Mopar enthusiasts. Paul says I should start hoarding 70 B-body trunk lids. There's a lot of B-body stuff people should start hoarding. Any and all, man, 71 to 74 is almost impossible to find a rust-free trunk lid. Oh, he's talking to Paul. Yeah. I do not wish that I had a 71 plus anything, just because it's so hard to find parts for. God. Cameron again, got a 11,000 original mile 88 laser turbo for free from my dad's friend in high school. Drug it out of the bushes and towed it home. Clean interior. Threw a battery in it, fired up, and drove. Nice. Sold it for parts as it was wrecked. Guardrail kissed down the side and bent spindle. That's a bummer. My dad's got an 88 blue Shelby Z that is crushed on the passenger side, but it's got the complete drivetrain. So we also have this 87 CSX that we're basically going to park next to the Daytona and take everything out of the Daytona and put in the CSX so that the CSX is back on the road. And if these people that I've been talking to really do come out with that rear wheel drive conversion kit for the Daytona, I'm going to try to find a door for that blue one and just experiment and see what happens. See if I can get a rear wheel drive Daytona.
Was it Johnny Mobile talking or posting about the old conversion kits for like the drag cars?
Yes. Yeah. We were talking about that, and he's got all sorts of cool direct connection catalogs and stuff. Those are, I have never, in all my searches and scouring the internet, I have never been able to find an original direct connection rear wheel drive conversion kit for one of those cars. I'm sure somebody out there's got one that's in very good condition and they're not letting it go. Although it would be smart to at least prototype it, and make a couple more and make some money. I'm sure their trademark or their patent for it is long expired. Brian says, too bad I'm at work. I would jump on. I got one hell of a story for you. One of these days, I'm going to do a Saturday afternoon live. That way I can get some more people on here. It's always tough when I do one late at night on a weeknight, especially. Ian says, I wasn't even around back in the days of cheap Mopars, but even in the 90s, I passed up so many good deals that I should have bought. I look at some of the car magazines, like I know, what is it? Auto Week, I think, had classifieds in the back for a while. And I've seen some crazy stuff in there too. It's not just the Hot Rod Mart or Auto Trader. I know I have a stash of old Auto Traders from like the mid 90s that I'm sure have some crazy Mopar deals in them. Cameron again, my uncle tried selling me his 68 Dart GTS 344 speed B5 blue, all original B7 blue interior, white stripe, 390 sure grip, no radio, no heater, factory little old lady car from Pasadena, LOL. No shit, didn't even have drip rail moldings on it with the tandem white stripes that said Swinger though. Yeah, man, God, that would have been cool. I still would like to find an original big block A body. That would be very cool. Hard to find though. Zachary, where the Dakota guy's at? I don't know. Side Road's trying to buy one.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say I'm hoping to be one day, but not yet.
Ian, exactly. I remember my chance to buy a Superbird. Yeah, God, I would love a chance to buy a Superbird. Paul says, my parents test drove a Superbird, decided against it because it wasn't a good family car at the time. Oh, set the kids on the wing. Take a ratchet strap them down. Yeah, it is just a satellite with a big wing on it. Ian says, thinking of all the missing Pro Street cars from the 80s and 90s. Yes, they are all out there somewhere. I've said it on this podcast before, man. Those old drag cars, the nostalgic ones that still have a lot of the original stuff on them. I love those things. They're so cool. Ian says, I definitely want to join the chat sometime. Yeah, anytime, buddy. Yeah. Those Gen 3 Hemi rear-wheel drive Daytonas are so sick. They are, man. They're cool. I like the ones where, and most of the ones that I've seen have looked like they were built that way from the factory. They're so clean. I don't know what you're talking about, Paul. Okay, this is the last comment. Did you get the pic of the 70s, 71 Roadrunner I sent you? No, I don't. My phone is nearly dead. Let me see. I'll have to share. Let me, I'll take a look and see if I can find it, Brian. But definitely, I'm probably going to go. This is episode 98 of the podcast. I'm going to trim it up a little bit just because we had some technical difficulties in the beginning. But the audio will probably be out tomorrow because, like I said, I got to edit some stuff. I'll put Matt Side Road was the guest tonight. So this was Direct Connections. Hopefully we can get you back on, Matt. That was fun.
Yeah, definitely. I still want to, challenge Blake and Matt a little bit.
Yeah, let's hold that thought. We need to get them on the show, and and you can drop that challenge to them. That would be fun.
Yeah, little incentive.
Yeah. So Matt and Blake, I'm sure you'll be listening to this. There is going to be a challenge for you two, and we need to announce that soon because the contest is coming. So, with that said, Matt, tell everybody where they can find you and your work.
Best way to find me is probably on Instagram, just at Side Road. @side_road.
And road as in Rhode Island,
Rhode.
RHODE, which is a very cool play on words. I thought that was cool. So good job on that. Go check out Matt's work and his car. Good guy. And he joined me tonight when everybody but Steve tried. It was a great effort, Steve. So thank you for giving it a shot. Definitely try again. Don't be discouraged, buddy, because he's got a fun story about his Challenger. But yeah, that's it for tonight, folks. Thanks for joining me on this Monday Night Live. If you want to catch the audio version of this in podcast form, it will probably be out tomorrow night or Wednesday. I'm going to aim for tomorrow night, but that's it, folks.
There you have it, my friends. Another episode of Talking Mopars Live is in the books. For everything you need to know about the podcast, please visit talkingmopars.com. And don't forget that you can send me your Mopar stories, questions, comments, concerns, complaints, and everything else on your Mopar addicted mind to Chris@talkingmopars.com, or you can leave me a voicemail on my voicemail box at 209-28-MOPAR, and I will play your message on the show. Also, if you enjoy this show and would like to show your support, there are a couple ways you can do it. One way is by picking up some Talking Mopars merchandise at the Talking Mopars merch shop, which you can find on talkingmopars.com, or by becoming a supporter through my Facebook page. Find me on social media by searching for @TalkingMoparsPodcast, and be sure to subscribe to my new YouTube channel by searching for Talking Mopars Podcast. And don't forget to join me at Muscle Cars at the Strip in Vegas on September 10th and 11th, and at Holly's Mo Party in Bowling Green, Kentucky on September 17th, 18th, and 19th. I'll be at both events with some of my good friends and fellow members of the motley crew of Mopars, so be sure to say hi when you see us. That's it, my friends. Until we talk again, I am your host, Chris Albrecht, and that was Talking Mopars Live.
Thank you for listening to Talking Mopars, your direct connection to all things Mopar. Until next time, remember, no Mopar left behind.